And then lastly, I just wanted to close on this word kaitiaki, and I think this really aligns in the Aotearoa context of what it means to be a B Corp. This concept of guardianship and being a guardian, you know, of the business that you work for, but also of our planet and our communities. And yeah, I think that is really at the heart of what being a B Corp is all about, being a good kaitiaki, taking care of our planet, taking care of our people for future generations. So I will pass over to Kath, I think, is going to speak next. Cool. Kia ora. And yeah, happy to answer any questions at the end.
Kia ora koutou, ka nuiti haere koa ki hui nei tātou. Nā tangata o Pict o Kotorana, ngā tupuna o tōku mātua, ngā tangata o North Warwickshire, ngā tupuna o tōku whaia, no Yorkshire, Engerangi ahau, e noho ahau ki piha ki te waunui a Tiriwa ki a Tamaki Makaurau, ko GoodSense te ropu, ko Kataraina Dewar tōku ingoa. Kia ora everyone, good morning. I hail from my dad's side in Scotland, Pict originally, and my mum's side in North Warwickshire. I was raised in Yorkshire and I've lived here in Piha in the beautiful West Waitakere Ranges of Auckland for 26 years. My team is GoodSense and I'd love to welcome, I've spotted Join, Kate gives a wave, and Emma right down there in Arrowtown. Kate's over on the west coast in Waiheke, and our amazing Lou, who is up in the top of the Waitakere Ranges, who's our practice manager and keeps us all in order. And I bring you greetings from the rest of the team, who are right through Aotearoa, and also Noel, who's over in Melbourne, who didn't make it onto that photo. I'm Kath Dewar, and I'm the founder and managing director of GoodSense. We work to deliver our clients ethical marketing expertise. We've been leading in this space of marketing sustainability since 2010. I belonged to the Sustainable Business Network since 2003 and was delighted to get elected onto the board just I think 6 weeks ago. And we've been a certified B Corp since July this year. We work nationwide, and with team members in Australia, we actually look after a few international clients as well. And we bring together really deep marketing excellence and marketing expertise across the team with proven experience in sustainability to deliver marketing excellence for our clients. And we'll only work with organisations who do right by people and the rest of nature. So we're very happy to have clients on the call and to have B Corps amongst the organisations we work with as well. And we work very collaboratively. So anything like this where we get together and share the good news together is really good for us. In terms of our B Corp journey, I think it was probably originally driven out of a real practical decision and I'm going to talk about the practicalities of it. I'm going to talk about systemically what it meant for us as a business. I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's meant for our team and our clients, I think, and also sort of from a reputation perspective. You know, we're a marketing company, so we'd be remiss not to talk about the brand. And I know that it's what it can mean for our reputation is important for a lot of us. So for each of those areas, I'm going to talk a little bit about what we were hoping for and what we're seeing in terms of results or what we experienced. So from a practical perspective, it was kind of the obvious fit for us. We wanted a tangible way to know how, as a business, GoodSense was tracking as a business that does sustainability ourselves. So we spent a lot of time working with our clients on their sustainability and how they can tell those stories. And you know, since I'd founded the business, I guess we're a clean slate brand. So you know, we always tried to do the right thing. We've never had offices, so things like our carbon footprint are really low. But we really wanted to benchmark that. And I'd clocked B Corp probably 3 to 5 years ago now, when it was relatively early and really only doing much in the States, and identified as being the best fit for us as a business to business service provider. As Quile mentioned earlier, for some other businesses, there's lots of other certifications, but for us, there isn't really anything that kind of makes sense, and this did. And so we wanted something that was holistic and would be a good fit, and it definitely gave us that holistic approach. I'd had a quick look at that business impact assessment probably about 3 years ago, and then gone and hid for a while. Which was a mistake, because by the time I summoned up the courage to work with Joe and we made the decision we were going to do it, of course there was this global pandemic thing, so it kind of went onto the back burner for a little while. But we then asked one of our team members to look back at the business impact assessment with me, and they took a much more detailed, oriented approach to what actually we had in place and what we needed. And so we kind of used that as how are we tracking? And then we did all the hard yards to pull everything together. And then we submitted, and then we kept on working, partly because the process had asked new things of us as we went through, and partly because we were really trying to, to make sure that we were going to be across the 80 with a bit of a comfort zone, because your points kind of respond to how you're assessed. So it's not just a self-score, you really do get that assessment. So in total, I think from when we first submitted, it was about an 18-month, from when we first kind of did the BIA, it was about an 18-month process of working on it, and then about 9 months of working through the assessment. We did get advice. We made it a project with a team member allocated to it. And then we really prioritized it from a management point of view. So every month it was on our agenda. And if we felt at any stage we weren't tracking well, we actually then met weekly until we got back on track. So it was as hard work as you've heard, but also it was very doable, it was a system and a structure that we could work through. And of course, now there's the wonderful QA here to kind of help people get started. And I think all the front end information is probably more accessible than it was when we first started dealing with it as well, which is good. From a sort of a systems perspective, well, I guess, quite a few of you who've heard me speak at things or in the media know that we're very passionate about third-party certification and the role that can play in marketing. So there was very much a sense that we wanted to be walking our talk in terms of having a gold standard certification applied to our business, and have that critical third-party assessment that's not, clients just don't have to take our word for it that we're good. They can actually trust that we do. And it was, we kind of knew it was going to be difficult, and it was. Partly, I think that's because when you bring any two organizations together, you've got different terminology and language and logic. And so there was a degree of just kind of getting familiar with that, which I think, and kind of navigating that, and to really understand what the criteria meant and the different stages as you moved through. And so in terms of what it did for us, it meant partly it was about pulling together documents we already had. Partly it was about documenting things that we just did. And partly it was about operationalizing into our business practice and also into our reporting and our repeated business processes, the things that it was required of us across those 5 areas that Quile identified at the beginning. So there was a real mix of not just the process and the system of going through it, but now how we put that in place. And Lou's working right now on some of the things in our annual cycle that we need to do to make sure that we're improving as well as keeping delivering at that level that we were at our certification and beyond. So I think Lou and Joe, my business partner, and I thought when we started that it would kind of be a GoodSense head office thing that we would do for the team. And one of the real learnings as we went through it, as the opportunity it gave us to really engage the team in ways that we hadn't necessarily thought. So one example is that we all work across a network of home offices. So we work with the team to create an approach for footprinting everybody's home office from an energy and carbon point of view. And that's something we can continue to deepen as we go on each time. And so some of these things were things that we didn't, I mean, you have choice about how you want to apply, but some of these things we chose to do and deepen our own practice, inspired, I guess, by it. And also there were some things around stuff that, you know, from a marketing perspective, and you kind of think we would sort of do for granted, but we probably weren't as systemized as we could be. Like, for example, keeping track of client feedback. So we kind of do it and go, yeah, that project was great, but we weren't necessarily pulling all those things together in an overall annual reporting kind of framework. So it's really improved some of our discipline and structures around our governance of some of that service, and also some of the stuff from a team and HR point of view, which has been really helpful at this stage of our growth. Thanks, Lou, for all the forms forever. And I think lastly, oh yeah, and I should actually say that has been a real difference. Like, generally, there was a big part, I guess, as the founder, where I'd driven a lot of how we do things, and now it's driven a lot more across the team, and particularly by Lou, in terms of this is what we need to be doing. So that shared ownership internally has been a real win for us. And I guess lastly, in terms of the reputation, well, you know, we're now officially good at GoodSense. So clients don't have to take our word for it anymore. It's kind of certified, which is great. And I think the sort of early stage reputational impacts have even been better than we hoped they might be. I was down in Wellington for business and just put a shout out to our sort of friends and whānau down in Te Whanganui-Tara, and loads of people came out just to celebrate and to learn more and to tautoko us doing it. The international connections are already proving really interesting, and I haven't even begun to sort of scratch the surface of that. So we're instantly connected to a network of like-minded businesses right around the world. And the local network welcome has been fabulous. So just really want to acknowledge and thank you, Lei, and the other B Corps here in Aotearoa who've been, you know, very welcoming, and there's, you know, lots of opportunity. There's also, I kind of think, a little bit of probably when you're immersed in a process, you lose track a little bit of how it's seen externally. But I've been really pleased with, I guess, the kind of prestige associated with it. Is that a bit of a wacky, a bit of an accessory? But there is, because it's hard, right? And it's really nice to be recognized for doing something hard. I think often in our industry, you know, there's quite a lot of flightiness in marketing and advertising, and it's perhaps seen as a bit of a fluff sector. So to be able to bring the world best practice standard in certification for how we operate as a business, how we respect and honor and foster nature, and how we are with other humans is a really great thing to have. And we're really looking forward to getting from we're just a smidge above 90, and so there's a lot to shoot for, and we're looking forward to the process of doing that. Thank you for your time. I'm going to pass over to Simon.